Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. All right. Welcome to another episode of Coffee Break with Pam. Yay. As usual, I answer three questions from that people who reaching out to me and would like to know that what are some of my thoughts about how to approach some of the marketing challenges. So if you have any additional ideas, please comment below. And if you like it, please click on shares and or subscribe if you're on YouTube and you are listening or watching this video on YouTube. All right, here are three questions. Number one, how to foster diversity of thought and improve creativity. Number two, how to improve sales skills even if you are not a salesperson. Well, I know a lot about that. Number three, how to understand and set a business objective. And I think that's also a critical um, skill set, if you will, that it's important to have. All right, let's get started. Number one, how to foster diversity of thought and improve creativity. To be honest with you, anybody who is interested in continuous learning are always looking for opportunity to actually do better. And a lot of time doing better is unique creative solution or unique creative thinking. And I 100% agree with that. And for us who doing our job on regular basis and we're doing the same thing, it's actually hard to foster that creativity. And there are a couple things I would suggest that you do. Number one is get off your phone, get off your social media, allow yourself some me time, right? Walk around the neighborhood, walk around the wood, go for hiking, do some exercise like yoga, just yourself and thinking about pondering some of the problem or questions or the things that you want to address. Does that make sense? That I from my perspective is super important. That's how I got my creative juice going is I have a quiet time that I do and I think. And sometimes I just let my mind wander and just let it go. Okay. You will feel like you got nothing accomplished, but reality is you do because you allow the ideas to simmer in little by little. So allow yourself the quiet time, me time from my perspective is super critical. Not a lot of people doing that anymore, but it's something that you should give yourself the time to actually be quiet. Number two is the creative thoughts and also the diversified type of thinking also coming from by talking with others. And a lot of time I will talk to my mentors or my confidants or even friends. Hey, if you are in this situation, what would you do? It's very interesting that everybody approach the same issue differently and they also have a different point of views. So it's important that you talk to somebody, right? And just share with them in terms of what you are thinking, what you have in mind, and then see what they can actually contribute as well. Okay. So talking is great. Number three, obviously reading. When I say reading, it's not necessarily about blogs or a short article. Sometimes it's really a books. A lot of know-how and really want you to dive into have a certain kind of a solid framework or creativity is actually coming from deep reading. And I have done so much less of that in 2021 because I was so busy with a client project. So one of my New Year resolution is read a whole lot more. And another thing I would encourage you to do to actually increase that the creativity thinking is whenever you run into a specific issue, that you encourage or somehow coerce yourself to come up with a multiple different solution to address it. Like for example, if I have to write a subject line for my email, and I will come up with a multiple different titles. And when my client asks me a specific question, I usually will ask myself to come up with three different options for them so they can choose. Let them make that decision. Let them reach the conclusion of their own. Does that make sense? So that's another way to actually kind of like help yourself in terms of increase your creativity. So I hope these are the actionable tips that you can use in terms of foster your creativity. Number two. So what is the second question again? Let me take a quick look. Oh, by the way, if you have any kind of thought, please comment below and also like the video. That will be greatly appreciated. Number two, how to improve sales skills even if you are not salesperson. And for longest time, I been supporting sales people for over 10, 15 years. And but I'm not salesperson. And so if I want to be kind of like a salesperson, and what I usually do is I will ask my sales peeps in terms of how they deal with certain kind of challenges. How do they deal with rejections, for example? What are the common causes when people kind of say no to them? And also when they are talking to their customers, and what are some of the talking nuggets, and I sometimes I even ask them, "Hey, what are the body languages that you pay attention to?" So try to be kind of like a salesperson, but not a salesperson. A lot of time, I would suggest that you get a lot of nuggets or tips and tricks from your sales peeps if you work in companies or if you work with your sales teams. And another thing that I have come to realize to be a salesperson, but not necessarily a salesperson. Um, is when I started working for myself. I'm independent consultant, right? So on one hand, I have to do a lot of sale promotions, and at the same time, I have to sell myself because no one else is going to do it for me. So I have to be a salesperson, but not necessarily a salesperson. Does that make sense? And I come to realize that what kind of salesperson do I want to be? And I ask myself that specific question. And I don't want to be too salesy, but at the same time, I want to be helpful. So I always come from the perspective, what can I do to help the others rather than to sell my business? And in the past 1 year, due to the pandemic, I actually got a lot of leads and a lot of calls, and several people reach out to me and say, "Hey, can you coach me, and so I can get promotion, or can you coach me so I can learn more about specific discipline?" And I actually try to help them, but a lot of time I will tell them that this is the things that you need to do. You can do it on your own. You don't need my help. So I'm coming from the perspective that I am actually helping them, but not necessarily like selling my coaching session. Do you know what I'm talking about? So if you want to be a salesperson, but not necessarily you want to sell, but you don't want to come from like a sales perspective, my recommendation to you is, can you just come from the perspective of helping the others? And if somebody reach out to you and ask for a certain kind of point of view or ask kind of coaching or guidance, you provide that to them, but not from the perspective that you want to close a business, but coming from the perspective of just helping them, and the kind of like a pay forward type of thing. Does that make sense? So my take on this specific question is, if you don't want to be a salesperson, but you want to have a sales skills, it's it's not necessarily that specific question that you want to address. Is a matter of what can you do to help the others, and then you grow at the same time. Okay. All right, so that's the second question. The third question is, if I can find it again, unfortunately close my um, screen. All right, the third question is how to understand set up business objective, right? In the past, when people ask me that specific question, because I ran into that question a lot, given that I help people create marketing strategy. And many of the companies that I work with, they are established enterprises. Because they are established, so they actually have a product readily available to sell, or if they refine the product better and the code next generation. So because if they have a product ready for sale, or the business has been established for a long period of time, the setting of the business tend to be revenue driven. Does that make sense? So you actually want to set up a business objective, you look at your revenue, and this is obviously short term for next 12 months, what you want to accomplish, and you kind of look at the revenue you want to accomplish. Then the next question you have to ask is, okay, for that kind of revenue I want to accomplish, what can I do? How many of them will coming from existing accounts? How many of them will coming from new businesses? And then from the new businesses, what are some of the industry segments I want to tackle? Out of the industry segments I want to tackle, what are the specific accounts? Out of those accounts, who are the people I should reach to? Does that make sense? It's kind of like peel the onion. And the business objective I'm suggesting right now is very much revenue based. You look at your revenue and you determine what you want to do, and you ask yourself one question after another, one question after another, get to the point that you're like, okay, I know what I need to do. But if you are a startup, setting a business objective might be a little bit difficult and challenging because your product is not 100% set. With that, you have to look at your product development and product roadmap first, right? So you have to understand what your product will do, what the benefits and features are, and then you have to think through that for next 12 months. Out of the product that you are currently developing, what do you want to achieve? Do you want to get maybe 3 clients to try on your products? Or do you want to get funding, right? That so you can fund your business a whole lot more? Or do you actually want to get the MVP, your minimal viable product, completed that you can actually ship it to multiple different enterprises? They can try it on. So the business objective is closely tied with your product development. If you cannot create a revenue-based type of the business objective, that has a lot to do with what is the current status of your product and what can you do to a product to the point that can start making money. Does that make sense? So creating business objective is tough. And on top of it, another layer of complexity is there's a long-term business objective, there's a short-term business objective. And the one I'm talking about right now is really short-term. However, if you have challenge setting up your business objective, reach out to me, comment below. More than happy to help out. Or you can send me your business objective statement. I can take a look as well. See, just coming from the perspective of helping out. All right, so that is it. And then now is actually a great time, given that we are all starting the new year, to actually look ahead for the next 12 months in terms of what you want to accomplish. It's a great time to set up your business objective and determine what you want to do. And if you are a marketer, you can actually look into not just the business objective, but more or less from personal growth perspective in terms of what are the skill set that you would like to hone in, or what are the knowledge you want to gain more. So from my perspective, continuous learning is super critical for modern marketers. And that this is one thing we need to do over and over and over again. It's not something that you are doing email marketing, that's what you do. And you need to understand how search will work. You need to understand how analytics tie that you can track the performance of your campaigns. So there's a lot of things that we all need to continue to learn. I hope that you actually look into that and look into a specific discipline that you want to learn a whole lot more. And maybe we can learn together. You can let me know what you are learning, and maybe I will kind of tackle on that as well. All right, so that's it for today's 3 questions. I hope that you find it useful. If you do, please comment, subscribe, or like this specific video. I hope to hear from you next time. Happy New Year. Take care. Bye.